Yeah. Where are you? Yeah. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 la. La ya la la ya la 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 la. Oh, the thoughts I said shall I. Huh? Yeah, 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 yeah. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 ya 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 ya. La la. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la la. Ma la 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 la. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ma la 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 la. Parrots, can you zoom? Yeah, 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 la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la 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 ya la la. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Amen. Yom Tov. It's someone asked me today if it's a Lubavitcher Yom Tov. I said all Yidden don't say Tachanun today. It's a Mishnah. I tried to invite someone to come. It's like, so today is a day it's brought in Shulchan Aruch. It's not we don't say Tachanun. It's a special day because the Mishnah says Lo Yom Tovim B'Yisrael Chamisha Asbog Kem Kippurim. It's a special, unbelievable special day. Sunday we learned a little bit about this. Why is it such an unbelievably special day? Oh yeah. So I'm sorry. Chanash Giros.
Double the exact thing too.
So now we know. Now you know it. Hazard is very good. There was a shliach in Eretz Yisrael passed away 2 weeks ago. Shliach Yitzchak Yedgar. His family was from Iraq, and
Old man.
yeah.
Wasn't so in my house. Give me brachot.
Oh, the Rebbe gave him a thing that he should give brachos.
Yeah.
The Rebbe gave him a thing he should give brachos.
That's good.
Oh, so the Chabad history, there was that big story of Tavshin Lamed Aleph was Simchas Torah, and that the fourth Hakofa, the Rebbe called over the Gabbai, and he said that he should announce. The pasuk says, "Yatzav Gevulas Amim Lamisper Bnei Yisrael," that there was 70 nations, and there were 70 people that came down to Egypt. So the Jewish people have a representation in the Jewish nation for all 70 nations. And the Rebbe said we're now going to invite all the Rabbonim Amor the Asr, the Balabatim of the places, that they should go for the fourth Akofa. But it turned out that it wasn't just a joke. The Rebbe took it very seriously. The Rebbe wanted that there should be a UN. The Rebbe said he's making his own UN. That time there were at that time. Till today, the UN is like, always passing resolutions against Israel.
You know what Abba Abram for the Shmu.
Yeah. But the Rebbe, they had a spiritual thing that we're now going to make our own United Nations, and we're going to have a vote. And the Rebbe said there's some obvious countries that there's the shliach of Morocco, there's the shliach of the shliach that he sent England. But then there was a few.
The Yemen guy never said.
And he was Iraq, that he was Iraq because he was from Iraq. So the Rebbe gave him that he should be the representative of Iraq in the United Nations. And then the Rebbe made there should be a vote that Moshe Emes, V'Teirose Emes, the Torah says that Eretz Yisrael belonged to Klal Yisrael, and the Bereshis Board of Kim Bishvil, Torah Bishvil, that all the nations of the world have to know that they have to help Yidden in their Avodas Hashem, and everyone voted. And then the Rebbe said that in the UN usually when they finish the whole day of work, they go to Broadway and they go to see a show. That someone should take a whole kois l'chaim, mach akul off the dish, and that's going to be the zelo mazeh of their going to the theater. And the Rebbe continued. It wasn't a joke. The Rebbe continued it, and the Rebbe seemed, and this was not a joke. This was gonna. And Yadga said that he was called when the Rebbe called on Simchas Torah. The Rebbe called all the nations should come up and they should say l'chaim. And the Rebbe turned to the representative of Egypt and and the Rebbe turned to him like once, twice, 4 times. And the 4th time, the Rebbe said, "Say something." So he said that there's still a lot of families that were left in Iraq. This is 71. There were still families there. And he's asking a bracha that the families should be able to get out. And the Rebbe said very loud, "Amen." Everyone said Amen, and then they started Allah b'dikinigin. He said there was, 2 days later, when he was on his way to Eretz Yisrael, it was in the front page of many papers. There was a whole bunch of families that had just managed right after Simchas Torah to escape from
71.
Yeah, this was 71. Tishrei 71. He said it was a front page of Yediyot Achanot right after Simchas Torah. That there was a whole bunch of families that were able to kricharus after some pastorah. So he said that when he came close to Chabad, so he came to Chabad Yeshiva, and then he got married. He got a job as being a teacher in a Chabad like a Mamlachti Dati school. There's a school, they still have such school. It's called Reshet Oli Yosef Yitzchak. School kids that would have gone to schools that are government schools, and instead coming here and they're learning Yiddishkeit. So then they were adding for it. He wants to become a Lubavitcher Chassid. So he wrote to the Rebbe the permission, because at that time they were building houses in Kfar Chabad, and he wanted to buy a house in Kfar Chabad. The Rebbe told him, "Mishum ponim v'oifenat, you're not just a teacher in a school. You're responsible for these children. And Mamela, you have to stay." He stayed until 2 weeks ago, where he passed away. A shliach, he was a very matzliach shliach. So here you see, he was in
It was close to 100.
No.
Yadga. 1985, somebody called me, Rabbi Yadger, Chassid Lubavitch. Can you bring him to your house? So of course. So I remember him. He said, long beard,
long white beard.
White beard, and I was translated for him. He speaks very well English.
Very warm.
Arabic, he spoke well?
Arabic.
He didn't tell me nothing about Iraq. Surprised.
No,
But
he's Iraqi. He's Iraqi. Everyone Chabad knows.
I didn't
Because
know.
the Rebbe made him the representative in the UN for Iraq. So surprised he didn't tell you?
Good. Modest. Well, you have to watch Shiva, don't go home. You didn't do much trouble in Shiva, I can't handle it anymore. But he come from so he took his bag and started walking. Boom happened to be that my grandfather and my father was looking at Shiva, and he saw him over there. So, what's the middle of the day. So what Shiva is like, so Shiva told him to go home. Went home, went to the train. So Shiva cannot throw out somebody from the Shiva. Come with them to the Shiva and said, throw him out. So yeah. Either a hand or me. You can't do it.
Your grandfather?
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's keep him in the Shiva. If not, if you go, I go too.
Yeah.
He said, I'm put it in my room and I'm going to watch him like my son. And look what happened to him.
Oh, you're such a popular shliach. It's matzliach.
He said this story so many times.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So l'chaim. First l'chaim. I already mentioned the Yid is l'chaim, but they took me this nakuda. Someone's asking the Rebbe. He wants to move to Kfar Chabad. He wants to be
in a bottom of a nice place. But it says b'shum ponim v'oifin not. The Alter Rebbe, there's a story of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said, "What's a chassid?" The Alter Rebbe said, "What's a chassid?" The Gemara says that there is, if a person cuts their nails and they throw it on the floor, it could be dangerous for a woman that steps over it. If she's pregnant, the chas v'sholom, she could lose her pregnancy. The Gemara says that tzaddik is koivron and a chassid is soirfon. Toisvis, it's a daf yud zayin avodah zarah. Toisvis says why? Toisvis says, oh, you have avodah zarah in front of you. Toisvis in daf yud zayin says that what happened that was Chazal knew that if a person that they have a piece of their body, even if it's a nail, and they burn, it's a sakona for them. So a tzaddik, he takes the nails and he buries them, so a pregnant woman wouldn't accidentally step on it. But of course, it says he's going to bury it, and maybe accidentally it will be unearthed. So he says, you know what? Better that he'll burn it, and maybe there'll be a little bit that he might take a little bit of a hit, but he'd rather take himself a little bit of a hit than another woman should be hurt. So, l'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. So that we talk about who's a chassid, then you come in. We talk about who's a chassid. Here. Like l'chaim.
More over there now. Oh my God. What's on my nails going there?
Toises, the toises now, but it sort of brings the toises in your. So, what's the bottom line to us? The bottom line to us is that this was the word that the Rebbe had so much about that this was such a special day. Chamisha Sabav. Why is it so special? That a person chops wood and comes after Chamisha Sabav and say, "I need the wood. Why should I give it away to you? I need to have wood." Chamishas after Chamishas above, you can't cut new wood. So the Yom Tov is that there were families that took acharayas. That what's going to be later in the year when you can't chop wood and it's and the Yid is going to want to bring a carbon. So a person's going to say, "Look, I have wood. You whatever. Who asked you to sin? Yeah, you want to do tshuva? This is your business." Elamai, there was a certain achtus, a certain avos Yisrael, and they went and they chopped wood for other people. So the other people, when they need to bring a carbon, that there'll be wood for the mizbeach. The Alter Rebbe says it's a Parshas Netzavim, we read right before Rosh Hashanah, l'chaim l'chaim, that mechoyte veitzecha v'atshoyev meimeko, that there's wood choppers. The Alter Rebbe said mechoyte veitzecha means that a person has eitzes. Person always walks around and he has things, plans in their mind. So there has to be choyte veitzecha. We have to knock out our own agendas. Shoyev meimeka, we have our own tainugim. It has to be choyte veitzecha. So l'chaim l'chaim. Tonight is a big Yom Tov. It's Chamishas B'Av. L'chaim l'chaim has a special connection to the Beis Hamikdash. So b'meila, David shall hoffen taka. That Tisha B'Av is the Churban Beis Hamikdash. That in Chamishas B'Av we know that the Eibishter finally forgave the Jewish people. How do we know? How do we know that? The most strong way, because when the people used to bury themselves on every Tisha B'Av, and the people when they turned to the age 60, and then they would pass away, and every year it happened that way for 40 years. The last year they lived. Last year they lived. They buried themselves, and the next morning they woke up. So Chazal said that they waited to Chamishas B'Av. Chamishas B'Av, they said, "Oh, look, it's a full moon." But it's a pella. What do you mean they waited for a full moon? They a little bit. They knew the calendar. They had to wait for the full moon. But if we learned the Gemara on Sunday, and Rashi says, now what was the simcha? There's a few words that Rashi adds. As long as they were being punished for the 40 years, that Eibishter was never in the siyachah that Dibra Moshe Rabbeinu. Rashi says the truth is he did talk to him, but it wasn't the siyachah in that special way, the full glory of the Nebuah Moshe Rabbeinu. So one of the 13 principles of Ani Mamin is that Moshe Rabbeinu's Nebuah was in a more spectacular way. All the Nevi'im spoke to Hashem, and it's a fundamental thing to believe that the Eibishter communicates with human beings. But it's also that Moshe Rabbeinu had the special clarity, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of things that Moshe Rabbeinu is different. that Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah was spectacular, was different. So that specialty and that thing that was spectacular by Moshe Rabbeinu didn't happen for the 40 years. Now, the Yom Tezvov, the Siyachah Dimei Hadibu. And that's why the Yidden made a big Yom Tov from that. So by the way, so now you understand, true that perhaps they realized after Tisha B'Av they're not dying, but there's a toil when the Siyachah Dimei Hadibu must have been on Chamisha Sabav. That's what Rashi says. That's when they celebrated. So the Eibush shall help that every one of us, we should see the Eibish's closeness, that this is a day where Moshe Rabbeinu finally saw the Eibish's closeness, Chibasam, of the Eibush. So every one of us should feel the Eibish's Chiba, and then the strongest way, Bevinyam Mashiach, Bebias Mashiach Tzedkenyam, Bevinyam Beis HaMikdash. Chaim l'chaim.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
ah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay.
Hey,
Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 did it, ay, la, 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 ay, did it, ay, la, la. I did it, ay, la, 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 it comes. I did it, la, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, ma, yeah, 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 yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, 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 hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. L'chaim, l'chaim.
we spoke about Rabbi Edgar. I remember he told me, he said, I'm coming 8 o'clock. Told a lot of people to go. So a lot of Mekubalim in the house. Told me about 9 o'clock, I cannot make it before 10 o'clock. Now I have maybe 30 people in the house. I don't know what to do. So a guy there, and it was asking me one or twice, like he said, what the fellow, can you come? He said for half an hour at Torah, and then Rabbi Edgar came. He said till 1 or 1:30 in the morning, maybe 50 people. That's a lot of people. And I have to go with the people, bring them to the room, and I sit there, and the guy speak in Hebrew, and I translate into, he speak to me to English, translate to Hebrew, then he tell me what to answer. Remember, till 10 o'clock in the morning, then he called someone to come to pick him up. I remember he had a beard, long beard, and he looked like Ofaa, I say Ofaa. Looked like a pig.
Presentation.
He looked like he
You didn't even know he was your neighbor.
No.
Okay.
So, man, he didn't know that my parents from here.
He didn't know.
No, he didn't know.
You say to him 3 words in Arabic, you would see the
Maybe.
Bible. You would
No, he
know.
doesn't know this Arabic. It's different. I speak Egyptian Arabic. He speaks Iraqi Arabic. It's different.
Different dialect.
So l'chaim, l'chaim. It's
I remember his face now. In front of me. Wow.
bottom line is we have to take.
I tell my
Beautiful. You
wife.
should have a lot of courage to keep on hosting events like this. So l'chaim, l'chaim. Takas is on the host such events. Every one of us should take from Chamisha Sabav. There is the campaigns that the Rebbe made, and it's proven to work. It's proven to work. It's in the summer. You have to, if you know that there's a family that their children need a better chinuch, to encourage them to get a better chinuch for their child. Chinuch is not from the cheap things these days, but still, it's worth it. It's well worth it. And all the mitzvahim of making sure that he didn't have kosher mezuzahs and film and kashrus achila v'shtiya and taharas mishpocha. These are unbelievable gates. These are unbelievable gates to every Yiddish heart. We should we should be cognizant of it. You never know. You meet a Yid, you can put on film, mezuzah, put them on the door, talk to them about chinuch. You never know how many people they're open to keeping taras mishpacha. They don't know. They don't know. They think they know, but they don't know, and you never know. So this is the day to Chmishas Abov, that we're responsible for all the Yidden. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Ay la 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 ya 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 la la ay la la ya 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 ma ya 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 la 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 di di la 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 di la la ya la 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 di di la la ya la 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 di di la 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 di la ya la 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 di di la la hey, la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya de ma da da ya la 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 ya de ma da da ya la 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 ya de ma ya Maya ya 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 l'chaim l'chaim l'chaim. Gemara says, the Moisef Yosef. That it's a little bit of a play on words. The Moisef Yosef. The Rashi says that the nights get bigger because the Gemara says Toshish Kerchet Shalcham. The sun gets a little weaker. Toshish Kerchet Shalcham, the sun gets a little weaker. By the way, it's a beautiful Hayom Yom today. That's the koyach of the nations, the world. It's like Chama gets a little weaker today.
Yes, last 12 months.
So the Gemara says the nights get longer. Therefore, Makam ve'elach, the Moitz of Yosef person. What does it mean? The Makam ve'elach, the Moitz of Yosef. There's 24 hours in a day. There's no extra time in the day. What do you mean the Makam ve'elach Moitz? Oh, very good. L'chaim, l'chaim. The Gemara says, the nights get longer. It's unbelievable. Now you have extra time to learn Torah. The pashtus, because those in the days, people work by the end. Once the sun set, you couldn't work. You can't be in the field. You can't work. So in the winter, they actually worked less hours. In summer, they worked more hours. By night, there was not a time to learn. It's not a time to work. So you could take a candle and sit with a sefer and learn. So how's it relevant to us today? The Gemara makes a big deal out of it. The Moisef Yosef, that the person that will be Moisef will have a longer life. The Loi Moisef, the opposite Chas v'Shalom. How could you add time to the day? What do you mean the Moisef Yosef? All the Meforshim asks, what do you mean? How are you supposed to learn more? How are you supposed to learn more? You have a schedule. I mean, if a person is really not learning, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin terrible things. Alter Rebbe brings the first Perek of Tanya. So that's not the Lamois of Yosef. It's like, it's a special yichus that he's being Moisef. That's his extra. Moisef means that you're doing your obligation and now you're doing more. How do you put in a toothpick in your schedule? Like the story they say, it was like a Ben Malamed, and it's a beautiful story. He said, if I was Rothschild, if I would be him, I'd be a little richer than him. So they said, how so? He said, I would tutor 3 kids every night. Said, I get a little extra income from that. How do you put in a toothpick in your schedule? In Monavshich, the Gemara says that every moment a person has extra, they're supposed to learn Torah. And that's part of the actual obligation. So how are you supposed to be Moisef? Where can you be Moisef? So The Rebbe used to talk about it a lot. The Gemara says in Yuma that when a person comes to heaven, so if he's a poor man, and they say you learn Torah, he said, look, I was a poor man, and I was working very hard to bring in the matzah balls. So they say, oh, you know what? Look at Hillel. Hillel, the Gemara says, worked every day to chop wood, and he used to work as long as it took to make a terepik, which is a coin, which was a half a dinar. A dinar is not that much, and that half dinar he would split in half. Half would be food for his family, and the other half would be in order to pay the shomer, in order to go into the base medrash. And it was Tkufas Tavis, snow, and it was snowing, and he didn't have any money that day. So he went to the base medrash, and the guard didn't let him in. He went on the aruba, he went on the roof, and he looked and he listened from the top. And he was there all night, and he didn't realize that he got covered full of snow. In the morning, Shemaiah said to Avtalion Kimdumani that it's very cloudy or something. What happened? And they looked up, and they saw Dmus Adam Baruba. They saw a person's face in the skylight. And they brought him down, and they warmed him up, and they washed him up, and they dressed him up. So he had Mesiras Nefesh to learn Torah. So they say in heaven, they say to someone that says, "I was too poor. Look at Hillel." And if a person says, "I was too rich and I had no time because I was running a vast empire of businesses," so they said, "Look at Abelazar ben Acharsum, that he had Elef Yodes Bayaboshu, Kenegdan Elef Sfinas Bayam. He owned real estate, not stamp. He owned 1,000 ayoras. He owned 1,000 towns, and he also owned 1,000 big ships that were going all around the world. And he was learning, and he didn't care about the business. The business ran on its own." So the Gemara finishes off, Nimtza Hillel Machayev Anim, Rebelazar ben Acharsa Machayev Ashirim. So the Alter Rebbe a little bit deals with it in Hilchas Talmud Torah. By the way, Hilchas Talmud Torah is the first thing that Alter Rebbe ever published. And they say that the Alter Rebbe was very, very young at that time, and it came to the Vilna Gaon, and he said unbelievable things about the person that was Mechaber that Sefer. But he asked, no one wanted to tell him who was Mechaber that Sefer. The one was telling him he became a Talmud Alter Rebbe, he had Charotim, why he didn't tell him. Anyway, the Alter Rebbe, the first thing he ever published was Hilchas Talmud Torah. It's very beautiful Sefer to learn. It's also a little, it's very demanding. It's very, very, very demanding. It's like very strong. Anyway, in the third Pedic, in Hilchas Talmud Torah, the Alter Rebbe says, sort of, what he's saying, the gist of what he's saying is that a person's busy, right? A person's busy. He says, look, my wife, my family, so there's no tightness in heaven. He can't learn while he's driving a tractor. He's an operator of a crane. He's an operator of a train. You can't learn Gemara while you operate a train. You can't. So the Alter Rebbe says, you care about the tzad of your mebayis. What's about the tzad of your nefesh? Your nefesh wants to learn Torah. What's about the tzad of your nefesh? You're not thinking about that. So the Alter Rebbe makes a cheshbon about how much, a whole thing about the trepik and half of that. It's 6 beitzim. He came home with enough to buy the amount of bread, which is 6 beitzim. It's not a lot. And that amount of bread is what they had for breakfast, lunch, and supper for him, his wife, and the children. So the Alter Rebbe says, basically, that Hillel was not obligated to be mistapik b'mu'it so much. He doesn't have to own half of Barbados Islands, but he doesn't have to have a mansion, which is 10,000 square feet of space. But he didn't have to bring home sheish beitzim. He could work a few more hours. He wasn't mechuyev to be mistapik so b'mu'it. Elamai had such a cheshek in learning Torah. So So because he had such a cheshek learning Torah, he worked less. In other words, it seems from the Alter Rebbe that a person says, look, but if a person just trusts Hashem and he ends up working a little less, it could be that he makes the same profit, but he ends up learning more. And it's a leap of faith. And that's why Hillel Mechayev Aniyim. That's why Hillel Mechayev Aniyim.
He became a Nasi in the end of his life.
Became a Nasi. But he didn't have that in mind. But it was a leap of faith. So that's why it's called a Hisofa. Because Hillel could have said, look, I don't have to live on so small. I could live with more rachmas. And then his amount of time to learn would have been less. But because he had such a yearning to learn Torah, he ended up saying, okay, so he ended up being mitzamtzim his expenses because he didn't want to, he wanted to be mitzamtzim his expenses because he didn't want to, he wanted to be mitzamtzim his expenses. Isaiah used to tell us that his father didn't have it. His father had a business for Chulul, but he liquidated everything. The Rebbe Rashab asked him to be his gabbai. Then the Frierdiker Rebbe asked him, so he didn't. Frierdiker Rebbe would give him money every month. Right? He lived in the Frierdiker Rebbe's house, and his father was like so izgate. There was at the end of every month he would bring back. He said it was like he would bring back like you gave me too much money. But then it didn't matter. Frierdiker Rebbe still gave him every month again. You're giving me too much. He was very mitzamtzim on his aitzos. Hillel was very why? He was very mitzamtzim. Hillel was very mitzamtzim on his aitzos because he wanted to learn Torah. So the shayach to be moisef. The bottom line is when you want something very much, you make it happen. When a person has such a yearning to learn Torah and the nights get bigger, so because of the yearning to learn Torah, he makes it happen. The truth is, Takazoi, that's what we're doing here in Beis Menachem Mendel, where we force our own hand. With the skistel, we take Masechta, we're doing Shtil and Tanya, we're learning Masech Shabbos now, we're learning that. We put ourselves into a schedule which is not easy, but that's what Chazal say. The Moisef Yosef. When a person has a cheshek to learn Torah, and he adds to learning Torah more than he would have been obligated. A person could say, I'm not obligated. But a person makes himself obligated. He's mitzamtzim the hours of his work, and he makes himself obligated. So that, the Eibusher gives you arichus yama. And the other thing is, the Rebbe says, that's in kamus, and there's eichus. A person it's quality and quantity. And the Rebbe had a big koch in this, that the Chaim Vital said that my Rebbe, the Arizal, we spoke about the Arizal, was a yortzek, was a moir haseichel ma'oit, dak haseichel ma'oit. Says my Rebbe was a brilliant person. He was very quick in his thinking. Yet he would learn everything he learned. He would learn 6 times, different ways of learning it. Al derech hanigla, and he would learn it until he break out an unbelievable sweat. And then he would learn the 7th time, he would learn over the same sugya al derech hasoid. Al derech hasoid. So it's interesting to note. He learned 6 times, different ways. We never saw any pshatim and nigla from the Arizal. But that's the way he learned. Everything he learned 6 times in the way of nigla until he broke out in an unbelievable sweat. And then the 7th time he learned to call that a chasoid. He didn't learn it another 6 times. 6 times in nigla and 6 times in soid. It was quick. All that chasoid. He learned it in 1 time. He already knew all the soid the Torah. For some reason, when he learned it al derech hanigla, he learned it 6 times until he broke out in a sweat. When you exercise, right? If you do the same thing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you do it for a few weeks and a few months, you're not going to break out in the sweat. In order to break out in the sweat, if a person's lifting weights, lamashal, and you have to keep on adding. Whatever exercise you do, you're always adding. So the the Arizal Derech and Avodas Hashem was, he could have learned it. Yeah, he was very smart. He could have learned it and understood it and knew it. Just like in Derech HaSoid, he learned it one time, he knew the whole side. But in order to learn Torah, he learned it until he was a Zeh Gedoyle Ad Moed. Should be like Kol Atzmois Et Amarna. It should go come out.
They said about Harav Badei Yosef when he was 10 years old, his parents had a grocery store. One day he didn't come to yeshiva. So the Rosh Yeshiva came to the house. Said, why his son did not come yesterday? He said, we have a lot of workers, so he started to work. They told him, send them to the yeshiva and I come to stay to work there in the store. I have Tzadkan. So he stayed for 1 or 2 days and then he sent them every day to yeshiva. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Rosh Yeshiva came to work in the grocery al menat.
They were so poor, they didn't have enough money to buy gasoline to light what is it called? The
And
light. Yeah. So it was a moon like the Chodesh. His head was so white. So the reflection of the moon on his head, and it was healing.
So that's the Pshat Hillel. That's what we learn from Hillel. So bottom line is that from tonight, there is a special thing to add in our chayis and learning Torah. Once it's Toshash Kercha Shalchama, there's that yearning to start a stronger cycle of learning Torah. There's a saying from the Rabbeim Chabad, as good is besser is besser. It's like a funny saying. If in literal translation English is, if it's good, can it be better? Person says it's good. I'm learning. It's good. But the Rabbeim always said, but you can't say that. It always has to be better. If it's good, it has to be better. So just like we said before in the exercise, a person can't always exercise the same thing. You have to be moist. You have to be moist. It's an interesting lashon Chazal is using. The loy moisif, the Yosef moisif, the idea of hisaf, because we have such a chayis in learning Torah that we want to be moisif. So l'chaim, tonight is a special night. It's the Yosef moisif, that every one of us should feel that chayis that we have in learning Torah, and we should be moisif. We should be moisif. The kamos should be moisif and echus, quality and in quantity. We should be moisif. And then we should see, Taka, that our life becomes behisafa. What does it mean our life becomes a safa? So one pshat is we live a longer life. Pashat live a longer life. But the other pshat is, as we once learned, the Kuntas in Yonash Torah Chassidus of Farbrengen, that Rebbe once told the story in Yutas Kislev Tav Shechavav, that the Alter Rebbe wanted to give a bracha to Rabbi Yekasiya Lefler that he should live a long life. He didn't want to take the bracha. He doesn't want to take a bracha. He said he will only take the bracha with the Vilnish Kempoyer de Shayonim. Doesn't want to live like a peasant. What's a peasant? They have eyes and they don't see Hashem. Is naim lahem v'lo yishmu? They have ears, but they don't. It doesn't go in. Godliness doesn't go into them. So he said, if you'll give me a bracha with the condition that I'm not going to have poyer de Shayonim. So the Rebbe then asked, Tzaddik wants to give you a bracha. Take the bracha. So the Rebbe said, we see from this that by Rabbi Yekasiya, what's life? What's life? What's life worth? What's life? If it's a nayim v'lahem v'lo yidu, as nayim v'lahem v'lo yishmu, if I have eyes, but what I see is everything on the crust. I don't see the inside of the world. I don't see the godliness. Whatever I hear, things I understand, perceive, I don't see the godliness within it. So that's not called life. That's not life. So when the Gemara says the Moisef Yosef, just like we said, there's two ways of adding to your learning Torah, in quality and in quantity. There's two ways to add to a man's life. There's quality of life also. Today there's a thing of quality of life. Quality of life. A person could be on a respirator, he's alive. But the quality of life is an andazach. That there's for a yid, what's quality of life? What's a pshat quality of life? How do you quantify quality of life? Aznayim, there is Einayim, Aznayim, the eyes, everything I see the godliness in it. Things I hear, I see, everything we see in the world, we all see the same thing. But 10 people see or hear a story and they take a different thing out of the story. So our life should be the type of life that every story we hear and everything we see, that what's the takeaway from the story? What do we see in it? The godliness within the story, whatever is divine within the story. So that's the pshat. That just like I'm just saying what I think the pshat Masich. That just like when we're saying to be moisef and limud Torah, there's two ways: quality and quantity. Pashat, stealing a little bit of time from your schedule to learn an extra few minutes, and then there is a quality that not only that I'm learning, but I have excitement about it. So I really want to figure it out, and maybe art school explained it well, and maybe no. So I'm reading it. I want to understand Taka. What's the pshat? Like that is how it doesn't mean that I have to. My sweat, I break out in a sweat when I'm trying to understand the first answer in Tosfos. Rizal took much more for the Rizal to break out in a sweat. It doesn't matter. Moitcha, my moit. I have to break out in a sweat for me. So when I add a little bit of time for me, which is a little bit maybe time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, in time, quantity, and in quality, that I put in more effort to understanding everything in Torah, every Tosfos, everything I learn, I put in the effort to understand it because I care and it's important to me, and I want to understand it well. And Keneged Zeh, they're moisef chayim. So there's two things in adding to life: quality and quantity. The quality of life, that our quality of life is that our eyes, our ears, we start seeing the world and experiencing everything in a different experience, and also pashat, a longer life. So David shall help that every one of us, that we should be moisef, quality and quantity, and David should give us taka arichas yomim v'shonim tovus in quality and in quantity. L'chaim, 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 l'chaim. You learn Shita Mukubetzes. That is, I'll work with his Rebbe on the Shita Mukubetzes. L'chaim. It's Ashgacha Protis when you learn the Chumash and the Tehillim and the Tanya and the Day, and it's all connected. The Chumash we learned today, this morning, the Limud Chumash, and everything to do with Chumash Asabah. The main theme of today's Chumash is that is the second Luchis, and the Eibishter says Salachti Kedvarecha. The Eibishter forgives the Jewish people. When does the Eibishter forgive them? On Yom Kippur. What does the Mishnah say? Lo Yom Tovim Chamisha Asabav Yom Kippurim. And really, one of the things that we have in common, which is that to turn things around. Tisha B'av is when the Eid falls. Like we spoke about the Shabbos, that Chaim Vital says, what's so special about Chamisha B'av is a full moon. Tzil says, well, full moon. Pesach is a full moon. Sukkot is the full moon. Every month has a full moon. So Tzil says, yeah, Tisha B'av, the fall is so bad. When the Eid falls, Eid has to know, if Chas v'Shalom I fall, it's not in order for me to end up in the pits. There's only one reason for me to fall, to go bounce much higher up. And I have to believe, Emunah Shleima, if Chas v'Shalom ever there's a fall in my life, that I didn't fall in order to Chas v'Shalom end up somewhere terrible. I fell in order to bounce much higher. And that's why Chamisha B'Av is the biggest Yom Tov, because we bounce back from Tisha B'Av. So Chamisha B'Av is bouncing back, and Yom Kippur is bouncing back. They're both the Indian of bouncing back. And the Chumash, that's the Chumash of today. That's the Chumash of today. The thing is that a lot of times we say it, but it's true. The problem is we say it, but we have to know that it's true. That Chas v'Shalom, that we ever end up in a little bit of a difficult situation, it's not Chas v'Shalom. The Eibishter is Teva Tov V'Heitev. It's not Chas v'Shalom to make it difficult for us. We end up in a difficult situation only for one reason, because we're supposed to bounce higher. That's it. Simple. And that's the lesson of Chamisha B'Av. Chamisha B'Av, we know that Tzemach Tzedek had this beautiful deal that the Medrash says that Churban was Ola Ari b'Mazal Ari b'Hechli b'Sariel al Manas Sheyobe Ar b'Mazal Ari b'Yibn Sariel. That Medrash says that the Nebuchadnezzar was called a lion in a negative way, and he came in the muzzle of a lion, which is Chodesh Av, and he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Almanas, that the Eibishter, which is Ari Yeshog Mir Lo Yira, should come in this awesome month and rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. So Tzedek is medayik that our sages say Almanas. You know, in Halacha, whenever you say Almanas is a very strong term. Almanas means it's not just a condition. There is a condition. There's a Tanai. Almanas ka'em ma'achshav dami. It's like it's very strong. It's a very strong condition. It's done, but it's done right now. But there's a caveat to it. So the Eibishter destroyed only for one reason, in order to rebuild it in a stronger way. So that's the whole idea of Chamisha B'Av, that we have to feel it b'emunah shleima. If we always felt b'emunah shleima, that every time we fall down, that it was only there to pick us up, it wouldn't take so long to get up, because we know b'emunah shleima, there's no reason for us to, we always, this thing, that thing, like someone told me from the Chevra Kadisha, funny thing, but it's true. He says, they say the person passed away for this, for that, there's a complication. Hakachan. The person passed away because the Malach HaMavis came. The complication. And he passed away because the Malach HaMavis. So same thing here. Alavai, we really connected to it. Whenever we fall in Avodas Hashem, in life, if we're in a Chas v'Shalom, we have to know b'emunah shleima that this Chamisha B'Av, that the reason we fell is only for us to bounce higher. Al Manas, that's the whole reason. We'd save us so much aggravation and so much time and so much effort. We know that there's only one reason, that in order to bounce back. It said, Sheva Yipol Tzaddik V'Kam. That's exactly it. So L'chaim, that's Chamisha B'Av. All Eden should, there's so many brach, there's so much power in this day for good shidduchim take. The first thing is that everyone that needs a shidduch, and Bisma comes to the shidduch, that whatever they need in order to get to the shidduch. Chazal say, it's like this. The Gemara says the story. Chiste, the guy didn't. He said, "I married her. She's an ugly girl." He said, "Ugly? How do you know she's ugly?" So he said, "Send the girl to my house." And then Chista said to his wife, "Do me a favor, take care of this girl." And she stayed in the house for a month. She was never so poor, and the wife of Chista made sure she took good care of her. Whatever, like a woman with a woman, she took good care of her. And after the month, so the Chista called for the boy, and he said, "This girl, she's a pretty girl." He said, "Oh, she's gorgeous." This is your Kala, what are you talking about? And then the Chista cried, and he said, that the Jewish girls are beautiful. Sometimes when a person's poor, their beauty doesn't shine. They're wearing rags, they don't have money to buy, to beautify themselves, to put on makeup, to wear nice begodim. So So the Chisda cried. The Chisda says that the Chisda always cries. There's a Chisda that cries. He says that the neshama is beautiful. Alamai, the aniyas and the das that we have makes us not look so beautiful. But emes, if we only recognized our own beauty, we'll give an another welt. We don't recognize our own beauty. We sell ourselves short. So if he's the cries, he says, "B'nai Yisrael Yafasem, a Yid is beautiful. Elashani Yosan Menav Losan." So the Eibusha Elfman should be the opposite. Mishas Lov is where B'nai Yisrael go, and they even if they don't even those that didn't have nice makeup, didn't have nice begodim, they used to go to the neighbor, and the neighbor used to give them makeup and begodim and things. They used to always exchange begodim, one girl with the other girl, in order for the people that don't have nice outfits, they shouldn't be embarrassed. Everyone changed begodim, so no one knew who can afford and who can't afford, who has and doesn't have. Everyone had nice begodim. It's the same thing in Avodas Hashem. That's why we're sitting together, Farbrengen. Why we're sitting together? Everyone can sit in their own sitting together, because that's Chamisha Sabah. So we're helping each other out. We're helping each other out. So first thing, Taka, a bracha that bepashtus, that everyone should have shidduchim and put the shidduchim until we get to the shidduch. That's what I was saying before, that you get to the shidduch. Sometimes the boy or the girl, they're not getting to the shidduch because they still have a few hurdles to get to. So they should get through all those hurdles, menuchas hanefesh and menuchas haguf, and they should get and mizamachen schnell gleich gute shidduchim. And the ikir is a shidduch between Klas Yisrael and the Eibishter and B'yis Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Chaim l'chaim.
Well, I want to make just one suggestion. I learned the new word in shidduch, not shaykh. What does it mean, not shaykh?
Oh, I don't like that word.
I tell the shatchanim that you have to not just send a resume, but sell the shidduch. If you sell the shidduch like a salesman, convince them, listen, you have nothing to lose by going out. 2 hours, go out.
And you have to tell the shadchan that's not lomdish, to say not shaykh.
That's it.
Not shaykh is
Not
not
shaykh.
lomdish.
But Galant Amayavot, not shaykh. I never knew what
not a good-
audible means. But
Not
now
shaykh.
that I'm a shidduch, not shaykh.
It hurts me too when I hear that
You
word.
hear that word?
Yeah, I don't like
You hear
it.
that word?
To me, I want more money.
Chaim l'chaim, machen Tag gute shidduchim, und wir haben die Gula mitzvahs v'shleim.
It's a special name. The Elters on Bank League and wasn't the right game. Then was it the lane next to fire for the name?
Thank you.
Gut, Chaim l'chaim.
Fine.
Der ist noch nicht gemacht, aber Bracha Achrona, wird sicher machen, aber Bracha Achrona. Baruch atvat yani malachan burn the washes rabbits from friend. I'll kill much but David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, David.
And everyone that's online.
L'chaim.
Yochanan Yishkoyach for joining.
L'chaim.